Is that what kind of an assumption is that? Is that open-minded intellectual thing to, because they're scriptures, therefore they cannot be historical. They must be mythological. What's the proof? You see, that's a gigantic leap of faith in the opposite direction, you see. They accuse us of being guilty of faith, leaping of faith. But they make a leap of faith in the opposite direction. Well, the Vedas couldn't be history because they're scripture. But wait a minute. Where's your proof that scripture cannot be historical? They claim that scripture is hysterical instead of historical. But since when? I mean, what is our basis of knowing history? Knowing anything?
Evidence.
How do we know that, Queen Victoria ever existed? Did anybody in here ever see Queen Victoria? Anybody ever meet her? How do we know? Well, that's just some invention of the historians. They want to invent this person named Queen Victoria. How do we know it's not an invention? We're being duped by some government leaders. The whole thing was a conspiracy to dupe the people. How do we know? How do we know George Washington existed? See, where's historical evidence? There's historical documents that verify the existence of Queen Victoria, the existence of George Washington, etc. So we can accept Victoria or George Washington on the basis of historical evidence. And why we cannot accept Krishna on historical evidence? Is that an intelligent way to deal with historical documents? The ones that aren't spiritual must be good. The ones that are spiritual automatically rejected because they're spiritual. You see, that's the prejudice of modern day intellectuals and atheists. The spiritual is automatically rejected. We don't know why, but it's on the principle, on faith, we automatically reject Scripture because it's Scripture. But let's actually analyze Scripture, especially the Vedic Scriptures, you see. It is the report of saintly persons who have no material motive, who are devoted only to the principle of truth. The Vedic histories come from such persons. Sometimes it is said that whoever wins the war writes the history books. You heard that one? Yeah. Whoever wins the war writes the history books. Like World War II, from the version of those who won it. You see. So what does that tell us about history? How objective is history? Material history, you see. Whoever wins the war writes the history books. To justify what they did, that we did, God was on our side. You see, because we were right and the other side was wrong. So whoever wins the war writes the history books. That means history is always distorted. Material history is always distorted from the viewpoint of those who have the power to publish and distribute the books. It has their own bias built into it. But if we hear from those persons who have no political ambitions, who are simply devoted to the principle of truth, and they have no political agenda to push forward, that is more accurate history. And that is the history we get from the Mahabharata, from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vedic scriptures, you see. We get history according to those persons who had no agenda for personal sense gratification, to put forward a certain political party, etc. Who simply wanted to present the truth. Saintly persons. And another point is that persons who are motivated by material desires, what do they end up being? They end up being subject to four defects. Imperfect senses, tendency to the illusion, the tendency to make mistakes, and the tendency to claim that they are perfect authorities in spite of all of these prior three conditions of mistake. This is the fourth mistake. It's called cheating. Okay. So if we take the historical viewpoint, those persons those cheating people who are subject to these four defects, what sort of history will we get? Or if we instead take the historical view of those persons who are completely free from all material desires, who have completely purified themselves of all lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and envy, who have qualified themselves to see God face to face. Who is more qualified to give us history? We have to consider these points. Not allow ourselves to become bewildered by the atheistic propaganda. Oh, that's just scripture. I mean, where's your historical evidence that Krishna existed? Well, the reality is that any one of us, if we purify ourselves by this process of bhakti, we can directly see God. This is you're seeing me or I'm seeing you, face to face, eye to eye. You can directly see God. And you can see the pastimes of God also, Krishna's pastime. You can directly witness them with your own purified vision. Premanjali charita bhakti valochanena sandak sadaiva hridayeshu valokayanti yam shama shundar machitya gunaspa rupam govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajanam. A person who becomes completely purified, whose eyes become anointed with the salve of love of God, he can see Krishna everywhere with anyone else. And seeing Krishna means seeing Krishna's pastimes also. Not only seeing Krishna. The pure devotee can see Krishna's pastimes also. They are called Nityad Lila. They are going out eternally, and he can see them. So, if we take our history from those persons who can directly see Krishna face to face, who can directly witness Krishna's pastimes within their hearts, that is more authoritative than these speculators, you see, who are under the control of their tongues, their bellies, and their genitals. So we should not be confused by the atheistic propaganda. What is your proof that Krishna ever